Hello and welcome to the 6th video. Some years ago there was a black and white ad by The Guardian and it showed a man, a skinhead, running away from a moving car towards a woman. The camera then stops and shoots the same scene from a different angle. This time you see the man running away from the car down the street towards a businessman, and he grabs the man's briefcase. The footage stops again, and this time the scene is taken using a much wider lens, and this time you can see the whole street. You see the man running up the street, past the woman, then towards the man, and he grabs this briefcase, and with it he pushes the man towards the side of the pavement, just as the crane above him collapses and drops its load of bricks exactly where the gentleman had been standing. So this skinhead had actually saved the man with the briefcase. These visuals played upon the stereotypes and demonstrated how having one point of view leads to one reasonable conclusion, having a different perspective leads to another reasonable conclusion. However, it's not until you get the whole picture can you really understand what's going on. So now we've taken a look at the 4th and the 5th column, we're going to actually have a look at the 6th column, where you're going to learn and practice how to hold two alternative points of view and come to some kind of a balanced statement which you can really believe in. Now, in order to do this, I have made a top tip box for how to come up with objective statements. So let's look through those now. Summarise your evidence for the evocative thought and summarise your evidence against it. Can I join these two sentences with the word and? Does it make sense? Is it credible? If my best friend were in this situation, how would I help him understand? If the evidence does not support your evocative thought, write an alternative statement. If the evidence only partly supports your evocative thought, write a balanced statement saying this, using words like sometimes, usually, or occasionally. Now, let's go back and take a look at Dialect's thought log and see what he came up with. When I go out without Yasmin, it does not mean I do not care about her. And he believes in that statement 100%. Yasmin does care about me. He believes in that one 70%. If she goes out, it doesn't mean she doesn't care about me 100%. She usually spends her evenings with me, and sometimes she goes out with friends, and that's 100%. So you can see, and it's important to note that that evocative thought that Yasmin doesn't care about him, it hasn't changed to 100%, it's 70%. But that doesn't matter. What's important is that you're learning a different way of thinking. Let's have a look at Joe's now. Now, Joe's thoughts, sometimes I make bad decisions, but usually I make good ones. He believes in that 90%. I may have made the right decision with this route, or I may not have. There is no way of knowing, and that's 100%. What is really interesting about Joe's thought log are the re-evaluated emotions. So if you see, the anger is 75% and the anxiety is 0, and he's got a new one, relief, at 15. But what's interesting is although the anger is there at 75, so he's still quite angry but less angry than before, is that what the anger now means to him. The anger actually became directed towards himself rather than the driver in front of him. He was angry that he was so self-critical. So now try and do your own, bearing in mind that if the emotions don't shift, you need to think about, what did I do that was wrong? It could be that you didn't identify the emotions correctly. It could be that you didn't get the evocative thought. It could have been that there was more than one and you have to repeat the exercise. Also think to yourself, do I really believe in the balanced thought that I came up with? Or do you need to think of another one? So now you have learned to fill out the log. Try and do them at least 3 times a week. By doing them like this, within around 3 to 6 months, you will find your level of distress significantly improving. You should begin to see some changes, and not just with how you're doing the logs, but what you need to fill out the logs. You need evidence. Stop mind reading. Ask people politely for clarification over things they've said or done or showed on their face and you didn't understand. Check how you sit. Pull yourself up into your adult. Sit up straight, stand tall. Try out your new learning, try out your new thoughts with people. If you've always thought that someone doesn't want to spend time with you, ring them up. Ask them if they do want to spend time with you. Arrange to go out with them. If you're having thoughts about what your boss thinks of you, ask him to review your career progression or review your work. What you're basically doing is learning how to reality check. So you're getting constant feedback on how you're doing from your current environment and not going back to feedback you may have received 20 or 30 years ago.